Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberkaş. A new era of relations. That's how Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan described the outcome of his meeting with Greece's top diplomat, who was on a visit to Ankara. After their discussions, Giorgos Gera-petri-tis said it was necessary to build on what unites the two countries and to better understand what divided them. The meeting comes as both Ankara and Athens continue to improve relations following years of hostility. Both foreign ministers also agreed to revive high-level contacts and seek new approaches to resolve their long-running disputes. The diplomats also revealed that Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis will meet at the UNGA in New York later this month. Erdogan and Mitsotakis previously met at a NATO summit in Lithuania in June, where both leaders called for the continuation of warming ties. Turkiye and Greece have long-standing disputes from the Aegean and Mediterranean seas to the issue of divided Cyprus. Relations improved when Greece became one of the first countries to send rescue teams following the devastating February 6 earthquakes in southern Turkey. And to discuss the Greek foreign minister's visit and future of relations, joining me now from Brussels is Samuel Doveri-Vesterberg. He is the managing director at the European Neighbourhood Council. And from Ankara, Mehmet Uğur Ekinci. He is a foreign policy researcher at the SETA Foundation. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. So, Samuel, is a new page opening in the Turkiye-Greece relations?
Yes, this is not the first positive agenda between Greece and Turkey, and it might not be the last either, but today's geopolitical climate is really pushing both sides to take dialogue much more seriously. And there have, of course, been countless exploratory meetings in the past, but this is really high level since Hakan Fidan, Turkey's foreign minister, met this week with Giorgos Gera-petri-tis, who's Greece's foreign minister. And so this meeting, really had one important result, which is that both sides have regained high-level contact, and both sides are on the same page to avoid that natural disagreements actually escalate into crisis. Mm-hmm. The meeting was very much hailed as a new step in a positive direction of relations, as well as there was a very positive joint press conference where Hakan Fidan noted that dialogue had been initiated without any precondition, of course referring to maritime, territorial, and other disputes. And so I think the most important thing to take away is that both sides realize that the stakes are high, the risks of escalation don't go away, but that the preventive way to avoid crisis escalation is very much high-level diplomacy and dialogue.
So, Mehmet, what's fueling this rapid normalization process? I mean, what external factors added to the efforts to build on the positive momentum which came after the February 6 earthquakes that devastated Turkey's south?
Yes, for the last decade, we see a number of fluctuations within Turkish-Greek relations. At a certain point, around 2020 and up until this year, the relations were not on good terms. But during this time, Turkey started to normalize its relations with a number of actors. We should not overlook what was happening even before the earthquake. So Turkey was trying to normalize its relations with Israel, with Gulf countries. Also, there were some attempts to normalize relations with Egypt as well. And there were also some overtures of contact between Turkish and Greek officials to restart high-level dialogue. And at that point came the earthquake, which also brought some positive gestures from Greek sides of help. And at that time, we saw also some good gestures, positive gestures coming from the Western world. Mm-hmm. So it was a trigger for normalization of relations between Turkey and West. And I see the problems, the bilateral problems or the escalation of bilateral problems within the context of Turkey-West relations. When the Turkey-West relations is on bad terms, we can see a more grave situation in Turkish-Greek relations. And now we have a positive turn in Turkey-West relations and so in Turkey-Greek relations.
Yes. So, Samuel, Greece's foreign minister said it was important to understand what unites and divides both countries. Don't they know this already?
Well, I mean, I think there's always a mapping exercise and a revamping of what agreements are about in order to come to a negotiated win-win solution that places both to a level of stability. But the two foreign ministers outlined a roadmap for improved relations going forward. And I think Turkey and Greece would continue probably to discuss a series of confidence-building measures, and they will probably revive a stalled high-level cooperation council meeting as part of the agreement as well. And it's also important to mention that the Turkish president, Erdogan, and the Greek president, Mitsotakis, are, of course, very likely to also meet again. They met, of course, already in July at the Vilnius summit. They're very likely to meet again at the United Nations General Assembly Forum.
Yes.
So I think that will be quite important also in carrying ahead that kind of positive improvement.
So, Mehmet, on the other hand, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan at a joint press conference with his Greek counterpart said and expressed Turkey's readiness to resume dialogue without any preconditions. What was he referring to?
Of course, there are some long-standing problems between two countries, and the claims of both sides are very clear. But at the same time, Turkey has always encouraged Greece to engage in bilateral dialogue rather than bringing these problems to international fora as problems of the Western world. So I think what Hakan Fidan said is quite in line with this perspective. Turkey wants the resolution of these problems bilaterally with negotiations. That's, in that terms, Turkey has no preconditions in any matters for dialogue with Greece.
So, Samuel, where do the US and the European Union stand amid this normalization efforts between Ankara and Athens? And what would fully normalized ties mean for NATO, the European Union, as well as Moscow?
Well, first of all, with regards to the EU, I can only speak for the EU because we're an EU-funded think tank. And for the EU, Turkey is, of course, an essential strategic partner. It's important to note that normalization means a lot for everything ranging from German supply chains, which are very present in Turkey, to things like a strategic vision towards the Caucasus, stability between Azerbaijan and Armenia, supply chains, critical raw materials going into Central Asia, the so-called Middle Corridor, where, of course, Turkey is one important component together with Georgia and other countries. Things like migration, common foreign and security policy, climate change is very difficult to tackle without cooperation between the EU and Turkey.
Yes.
And of course, it goes without mentioning that Turkey needs EU markets. Turkey doesn't have north-south potentials anymore because of Russia's very difficult situation today vis-a-vis the war. Turkey needs financial stability, loans, future investments. Again, that also means the EU, as well as, of course, security and technology, which, of course, is an important component as well of the future relationship.
So, Mehmet, on top of these existing problems that Samuel mentioned, could you talk to us about the Turkish position after Greece, the Greek Cypriot sector, and Israel pledged to strengthen their Eastern Mediterranean power bloc with a possible inclusion of India? Is this another impediment before a regional alignment in the region?
Of course, for any sort of long-lasting and viable cooperation in the Eastern Mediterranean, Turkey should be included in any mechanism. So in terms of energy cooperation, also this is more profitable for all sides. If Turkey is included, the routes of energy transportation would be shorter, and the already existing infrastructure can also be used. So this is what Turkey has been repeatedly saying, especially creating a region-wide conference, which is not excluding any parties. But at the same time, when Turkey-Greece relations were on negative terms for the last decade, Greece launched certain initiatives of forging relations in different spheres, including energy, not only with Eastern Mediterranean countries, but also countries beyond that. So realistically speaking, I'm expecting Greece to continue on the strategy, but at a certain point, if there are clash of interests with Turkey, and especially clash of claims regarding maritime zones, there should be some kind of a middle ground to be found between two countries.
So, Samuel, how would positive relations between Ankara and Athens impact the possible resumption of peace talks in Cyprus? I mean, is there a common ground or a common will from both sides to resolve this long-standing problem? Or do they usually prefer the status quo?
No, there is definitely a willingness to try to tackle the Cyprus problem. The problem, of course, is that Cyprus has been a long-standing issue. It's a very complex situation, and there are many, many actors involved, which renders it more difficult. But the good news is that, of course, having a positive agenda with Greece directly implies that Cyprus becomes easier. And in addition, what's clear is that the Cyprus issue will have to be tackled sooner or later. Both the EU and Turkey and also in Greek relations are to become sustainable and solved. Unfortunately, the EU and Turkey are likely to negotiate on customs union reform in the upcoming year, likely, which could bring, of course, an enormous amount of new welfare and growth benefits to the Cypriot island, to the EU, and to Turkey as well, which may very well prove to be an important incentive to move ahead in the talks and the negotiations on the island, as well as, of course, in addition, other incentives are the fact that the EU and Turkey need each other for some of the points that I mentioned before, notably with regards to security, critical raw materials, supply chains, and many other policies as well.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.